Hi guys, Jordan from BNP Campers. I'm just going to do your handover video on your Adria Twin. So it's a 2007 model and we'll start under the bonnet just here. So on the left hand side you've got your washer fluid, power steering fluid and engine coolant. Just up to the top right of that you then got your brake fluid, which is attached to the servo just down the back. Engine oil gets topped up through this cap just here at the top of the engine there, and the yellow top dipstick just here is to check that. Your sort of crash bar or slam panel, you've got your Adria original sort of chassis plate there. So 3.3 ton is the weight of the vehicle. The engine battery in this age of vehicle sits under the floor in the cab. So if you need to jump start the vehicle, positive terminal goes on here, and then negative, you actually undo this little bit here, and your negative prong is that one just there. So essentially jump starting it is a lot easier because you literally just go from positive, negative. You haven't got to reach over and get to the battery or anything like that. So that's how you do that. The air filter sits inside this box just down here, and you've got various fuses and relays inside this box here, but you don't need to worry about any of that because that's all original Fiat stuff. Inside the passenger door, there's a couple of bits to show you. You've got your bonnet release cable or arm just there. So it means that you have to have the door open in order to get the bonnet open, which means that, you know, it's a good security thing. It means that no one can just go in there and open it. Fuel filler cap, you need your ignition key to get that open, and it's obviously diesel. Inside the near side sliding door, we've got your table that's been fitted aftermarket, obviously, you know, as requested. Light switch just behind there still works, but you know, it's behind the table there now, but you can get in there to use it quite easily. This little bit just here, just so that you know, is access to the back of the sort of cooker and all that sort of stuff, just in case you never need it, but it's only really for our purposes, to be honest, so you shouldn't need to do that. Down underneath on this near side still, you've got your, well, I'm not sure if you can see that or not. Let me just okay, I don't think I can put the flash on. So just down here on this near side, again, I know you can't really see it, but you've got your waste drain off point. So if I just turn this whichever way it will turn, like that, there you go. So that's just showing you how that works. So you basically got a lever just here. It's facing upright at the moment. All you need to do is turn it sort of anti-clockwise round to the left, and that will drain out any water from your waste tank just inside there. These two vents just out here, sort of behind the sliding door, are for your fridge. So if you ever needed to get to the fridge for any reason, then you can get to it just from in there, but you shouldn't need to get into that for any reason. Awning rail is up there, fitted, nice and neat, perfect level just above the door there, so it doesn't catch on it, and also just comes just further than the door. So that's all up there, ready to be used with your new awning, which is also in the back here. Electric hookup, so if you do have access to a hookup cable like I've got plugged in now, it's really helpful. For a few reasons really. I mean, obviously if you don't have this in, you can't use your 240 volt sockets. You also can't use the boiler on mains, and your battery charger won't be on. So if you do have access to this, it's really helpful to have this in as much as you possibly can, to keep everything topped up. In the back here, the awning itself, by the way, is absolutely fine. Just that we've had it tucked up in the corner for a little while, so it's gone a little bit damp on the bag, so it looks bad, but it's not actually. The awning itself inside is absolutely fine. Gas locker sits inside the vehicle, behind the back doors just here. It has obviously got a airtight rubber seal going all the way around it, as you can see running around the door there. To close it up, You lever these little bits over and push them across like that. That's how you open up the gas locker. You have got space in here for 2 of these propane bottles. In fact, you've probably got space for a 13, but I'm not sure. I mean, I know that these straps here are sort of made for these 6 kilos, but you may or may not be able to fit a couple of 13s in there. I don't know. The normal way of doing it, to be honest, is just having these 6 kilo propane bottles, so you're better off just sticking to these. These last a lot longer than you might expect. But there you go. So to turn these bottles on, anti-clockwise around to the left turns it on, clockwise around to the right turns them off. You need to turn these off before you start driving. It's really important. And just so that you know, you've got 2021 date on your pigtail here, which means that you can replace this in 26. So you get 5 years on those. If when you first turn the gas on, you notice that there's no gas coming through inside the vehicle, you have got this little green button just here on the regulator. So if you don't get any gas coming through inside, once you've turned the gas bottle on, push and hold on this little green button in here for 3 seconds, like it tells you here. Well, it says 5 seconds there, but there you go. And just basically that just allows any gas to go through. It's kind of like I think it's kind of like a crash sensor. So I think if you crashed, it would stop any gas coming through the bottle here if the bottle was left on. So sometimes it gets a bit confusing, thinks that it has, so you have to press the button just to allow the gas to come through. But there you go, that's what that is. There are a few bits underneath the bed and over in the corner here by the battery what I will show you in a separate video, because I need to lift it up. I can't do it with one hand. So there will be 2 parts of the video, but I will show you all these bits inside here where the battery are. I will show you that in the next one. On the off side now, you've got your Truma combi boiler vent just here. So if you had that lit up on gas, you'd be able to feel hot air coming out through the underneath. The toilet cassette locker is really simple. You've got a fresh water flush in here, so you don't have to worry about any separate flush fluid up top or anything like that. So if I just show you, that's it, completely locked in place. To get it to come out, lift up the little yellow tab there and pull the whole thing towards you. You can then take the entire thing out. Like I said, you've got a fresh water flush, so that's this little pipe just here, is your flush fluid directly from your fresh tank. So all you need to know really is, as best you can, so that's actually a little bit stiff now, so I will get that open. You need to keep this little rubber seal underneath this lubricated. If you don't keep it lubricated, what will happen is exactly what's happened here. So I can't actually physically move that because it's not been lubricated. So basically what will happen is when you go to push this in, it won't be able to open itself up for you to use the toilet inside, and it'll get stuck in place. So keeping that lubricated under there is really helpful. Obviously you empty out the actual toilet cassette itself from here. When you open it up, take the cap off and empty it out. When you're emptying it out, you need to hold this little yellow tab down, and then you fill this back up with your blue fluid. So a cap full, so when you take this cap off, you notice it's actually a measuring cup as well. About a cap full of the blue fluid back in here is about right. Actually, I'll leave that out so I can do that, don't forget. Freshwater inlet is this one just here. Again, rubber seal around that, you should keep that lubricated so that you don't get any water leaking out from here. And let me just jump in the cab. So, a couple of things to explain. The original reversing camera up there was not working because essentially when we looked at it to try and fix it, we got up to the top of the back of the vehicle and realised that there was a little hole there. Got into the hole, and then there was just chaos wires everywhere that we couldn't sort of replicate or fix. So instead of wiring up or trying to wire up, because we did try but we couldn't do it, instead of wiring up to that one, we fitted you an entire new camera system. So the whole system is brand new, camera's new, the new unit over here, so it's a dash top camera and system. So if I just show you now what that looks like, I'll just pop the ignition in. So obviously that'll only work when the ignition's on, so that you don't get any battery drain as well. If I turn the ignition on, you'll see it will come on. It has got sound as well. And there you go. So you can see just behind the back doors there. And if I just, whilst we're here on that note, I'll just go around and quickly show you what the camera looks like. Like I said, there wasn't actually a camera up there at all before, but I've fitted a new one so that it's nice and neat up there. But like I said, it's a brand new camera. It's a park safe unit, and we actually managed to get the wire to go down there behind all the cupboards, so you can't see any of the wire, and all the way through to the front. So it's all nice and neat. I just thought I'd explain that to you so that you know why there's another system up here on the dash. But there you go. So ignition off, you'll see that turn off again, so that you won't get anything draining the battery out when you don't want it to. I obviously realised that you've got the screens just here, so you just need to literally aim that camera down a little bit, or the screen down a little bit, and that does still go across. If I pulled it any further forwards, I would have damaged the blower controls and things like that inside there, so I had to go there really. But just lean it forwards and you can still pull that across nice and easily. Otherwise, in the cab you've got the 5-speed manual gearbox. Reverse is over and up to the top left whilst pulling up on this little tab here. You've got a single DIN Sony head unit there, which is popped out at the moment. Another reason, you know, stopping any battery drain or anything like that. Popped out at the moment. Air conditioning works from this switch just here in the middle, which actually is quite a nice little factory extra. They don't all come with that. There you go. All the fan controls and heater controls are just there in the middle as well. Hazard lights. Lock and unlock the cab from inside with these two buttons here. You've got electric adjusting mirrors from here, so you basically just turn this and then use it as a joystick, moving whichever camera mirror you want, and electric windows. Your engine battery, by the way, just so that you know, sits underneath this little area down here in front of the passenger seat. So if I jump through to the back now, I can show you a few bits working on the inside. So you've got your Adria control panel up here. So I've got the hookup plugged in at the moment, and the way that I can definitely tell that and tell that it's definitely working and switched on is that I've got the little green light over here on the left on. The next one over is your battery level sensors. So if I press up, it shows us the engine battery level, so that's at full power. If I press down, it shows us the leisure battery voltage, and that's at full power as well. The next one is the 12 volt on and off switch. So if I press down on this, anything 12 volt would switch off, and when I switch up and I get a green light, it tells us that anything 12 volt is then switched on. So all of your lights, all of your, you know, ignition, things like that, all of that will come to life and start working. The next one over is your freshwater and wastewater levels. So if I had some fresh water in the tank, which I don't at the moment, I could press up to show us that, but at the moment it's showing us it's empty. And the wastewater level is showing us very nearly empty. But as you can see, when I showed you outside, a little bit of water came out when I opened it up. So there will be a little bit of water in that waste tank. And the last one, water pump. So I'm not sure if you can actually hear it on the video or not, but when I'm turning that on, the pump is coming on. The reason for that is because there's no water in the tank, it's not actually been able to get up to any pressure or anything like that. So there will be a little pressure switch down there by the pump. So essentially, until that, you know, until there's water in the tank and the pump's actually submerged in water, it won't turn itself off anyway. So you need to make sure that you know, have enough water in the tank. Also, it's really important to have water in the tank a lot of the time in this vehicle, because your fresh water flush on the toilet, if you don't have any fresh water in the tank, you will not be able to flush that toilet. So that's not me saying, you know, you should drive around with a full tank, because you probably shouldn't. But you know, if you drive around with at least sort of maybe quarter of a tank a lot of the time, you know, you'll be able to flush your toilet whenever you want to. You'll be able to run the pump, etc. So all the time that you're not using the pump, it's always good practice to turn it off like it is now, because if it is quite a quiet pump, and if you've left that switch on and actually the pump's still running without you knowing, it will eventually burn out, and you'll have to replace it, because they, you know, if they stay on for too long, they do burn out. So that will need doing. So make sure that you switch that off when you're not using it. TV aerial and TV have all been fitted up here. So obviously we've got 12 volt power going to the booster there now. So that comes on. And the tilt and turn aerial just inside there. Television. Now obviously, bearing in mind it's quite a small vehicle, there is limited spaces to actually fit the brackets. So we have had to put the insides, or the back of the bolts here on the inside of the bathroom, but it's the only way you're going to have that there, basically. So what else have we got? So down here, a little bit of storage down there, and two forward-facing seat belts just there. Okay, so the water tank will be under there, and I would imagine that the fresh drain will be inside that water tank. So, you know, just have to take that bottom chair off basically to get to all of that. If you don't want to do it like that, you don't have to. You can, if you want to, open up the wastewater drain and basically pull all the water through the tap. If you want to do it like that, it's up to you. So, next bits, we've got your, obviously the sort of like kitchen area. So you've got the sink over on the left hand side, which is a hot and cold tap, and your twin burners over here. So you will need an igniter of some description to light either of these two up. So as soon as you've got your gas on and you've basically made sure that you've got the green buttons being pushed in for a few seconds, use a lighter or a clicker, whatever, to light any of these up. So basically push in and round to the left will allow the gas to come through. You've got, on any gas appliance in this entire motorhome, you've got one of these little prongs just here, which is called a thermocouple. So what the thermocouple does is it centres the burning gas as it lights up, and then allows the gas to carry on coming through. So essentially, if you don't have the flame lit up, it won't allow any more gas to come through. And obviously the reason that you want that is if I just did this and let go, and the gas just carried on coming. So basically, if I just turned this dial and the gas just came through constantly, I could quite easily just fill this entire van up with gas, and you don't want to do that. So what the thermocouple does is it only allows the gas to come through if it's realised that it's lit. If it's lit, it doesn't matter, because it's not, it's burning before it's coming into the vehicle. So essentially, the other thing it does is if you had this lit up and you had the door open and the wind or somebody blew the flame out, whatever, the thermocouple will recognise that flame's gone out and that it's just literally just pure gas coming into the vehicle. It would recognise that and it would stop it. So I always just like to show you it on the hobs here, because it's the easiest one to show you, but actually every single gas appliance of this entire van has got a thermocouple on it. The grill down here has got a piezo igniter, so that's how you light up the grill. Again, just basically push in and round to the left to actually get that to come on. Yeah, I've got a light inside of there, but like I said, piezo igniter, like that. A little bit old school, but they are nice and reliable. So, what else have we got? So you've got your gas isolators inside here. So the top one there, oh god, you can't see it, it's a bit dark. So the top one there is for your two burners. The middle one is for your grill, and the bottom one is for your fridge. So if you wanted to isolate any of those from the gas, you can just literally turn them 90 degrees and they'll be isolated. You only need to do that if you think there's a problem with it. You don't need to do that every time you get out, but it's just in there if you need to use it. So we have to do a couple of little bits and pieces on the top of the fridge, but just so that you know, you've literally got 2 screws to take out this little piece of wood here, just inside the cupboard above the fridge, and it makes anybody who's like a motorhome engineer, caravan engineer, it makes our life a lot easier. So if you do ever get any problems with the fridge, it's so easily accessible from the top. Just so that you know that, I thought I'd just show you that so you can see what's up there. But basically, there's nothing technical in here. You've literally got a couple of electrical bits on the left hand side and gas bits on the right. It really is as easy as that. So I just thought I'd show you in there. You have also got a couple of little bits and pieces for the TV up here, but I don't think you need to worry about any of that because we've got the new stuff fitted over here on the right. So we'll put that back together in just a minute. So the fridge itself, all of these fridges are really nice and simple. So I've got it lit up on gas at the moment, and the way that I can sort of prove that is, well, it's a couple of ways. I'm not sure if this one's got the... No. So I can prove that by turning the gas dial off here. When I turn this gas dial off, this igniter will start flashing and basically start igniting. So I'll turn the gas off. There you go. So what's happening there is essentially I've turned the gas off and the igniter has started to try and ignite again because the flame's gone out. So the way that you light it up is kind of in reverse of that. So you turn the igniter on and then push in and around to the left, wait for it to light up, igniter switch goes out because it's lit, and then let go of that. If that igniter switch stays off, then you know it's lit. Alright, so that's how you light any of these gas fridges up. Super simple. If you have a hookup cable plugged into the vehicle like I do now, you can press this switch on here and the green light illuminates, and essentially the green light, 240 volt, and the gas are the only 2 ways that this fridge gets cold by itself. If you have pre-cooled the fridge and you're going to start driving, then you can turn these 2 off and turn on your 12 volt switch. So the 12 volt switch basically cools the fridge down or keeps the fridge at temperature via the engine's alternator. So I'll just quickly explain that. So when the engine started up, the alternator charges the engine battery, alright, like any car or any other van does. You've then got something called a split relay, which sends power from that alternator through to the leisure battery and the fridge. So anytime that your engine's running, anytime that you're driving, you can actually keep the fridge cool by the red button, and also know that your leisure battery is being topped up as well as the engine. So the reason that's so important is that when you get to wherever you're going, the leisure battery's got full power. And obviously, you can't have the gas switched on when you're driving, so you can't use it on gas. And you obviously can't have a hookup cable plugged into the vehicle whilst you're driving either. So really, the only way to keep this fridge cold is to switch on the 12 volt switch when you're driving. But like I said, that's not powerful enough to get the fridge cold by itself, so you do need to pre-cool the fridge first, either via the mains element or the gas like I showed you a minute ago. So I'm going to switch that off now, and that's it. So bathroom now. Like I said, I will, after this video, I will be doing another one just to show you the bits under the bed. But the bathroom, shower head goes up here. It's obviously attached to the mirror up there. You can take this out carefully. You can take this out and then feed it back through here. Without making too much mess. Feed it back through there and use it as your sink. That's kind of the idea with these smaller vehicles. They kind of make use of having the sink and the shower at the same thing. A little bit of storage underneath there as well. But basically, I've got the cassette outside at the moment, so I can't obviously show you it actually working. Plus there's no water in the fresh tank, so it won't work anyway. But what I want to show you really is you've got your so essentially the way that the actual toilet works is you've got your flush switch over here, which is the blue button. So when you press that button, any water that's in the fresh tank, you basically flush it through with that. So essentially the pump will come on just to make that work. And when you want to drain it out into the cassette, you open the flap by pulling this round to the right, and then you close the flap back over when you've finished. Now it's really important to close that flap back over, because if you don't, essentially what will happen is, if you leave it open, two things: you'll have all the bad fumes coming up from the cassette directly into the vehicle, but also you won't be able to take the cassette out from outside, because when it's in this open position, it's locked. Alright, so you need to make sure that's closed back over anytime that you're finished. But yeah, so I think other than the few bits in the back that I'm going to show you, I'm just trying to make sure there's no more extras that I've missed out. So I was supposed to show you a few bits. So obviously you've got your TV and the TV aerial and booster in there. The table, extra table there, I'll just show you that opening up, so that's nice and solid up there. Yeah, and then obviously you have to push those bits back down. It's a lot easier with two hands, but let me just try and do that. So you clip those bits up. Where is it? There you go. So you basically just got these little bits here, you push them up at the same time, and then that will close that over. You've got a little cap down there. Awning rail, reversing camera, and new screen. Yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, if there's something else that I've missed out, then I do apologise, because I only did the reversing camera myself, so I'm only really aware of that bit. But there are various kind of instruction manuals and things. So the park safe stuff is for your reversing camera that I fitted, and obviously you got all of the stuff down there for the TV as well. So that's all there. Paperwork for the vehicle is all in here. Quite a lot of it. Okay, so I'm going to stop this video here, but I will be showing you how to use the boiler and show you all the electrical stuff in the next video after this. Thank you very much.